UCLA Next starts now. Scott Meklowitz.
I'm Merritt McCoy.
And I'm Cheryl Umana, and this is UCLA Next.
Tonight, we'll take a look at the Athletics Hall of Fame. It's the place on campus and the web to find anything you ever wanted to know about sports at UCLA.
We're going to visit with dancer, choreographer, and UCLA alum Lula Washington.
Robert Rosen will take a second look at Picnic at Hanging Rock, a story of a Victorian girls who wander off with their chaperones in the Australian wild outback.
Sounds like one you'd like, Scott.
Sounds like 10 minutes ago in our dressing room. We share a dressing room.
He wishes it was more.
He's just mad because you wouldn't let him borrow your lip gloss.
Not true. Yeah, it's not true.
No, he's right. It's not true. I did not let him borrow my lip gloss. No, I did, actually.
This is Lilith, and I heard you wanted to know where you can go to see the original Heisman Trophy won by Gary Beeman,
or even all 86 NCAA trophies won by Bruins past and present. Well, guess what? You don't have to look far. You can find them here at the Athletic Hall of Fame, located in the J.D. Morgan Center right on campus.
We're here with the Facilities Operations Manager, Mark Taylor. Mark, we were wondering if you could give us a tour of your beautiful Athletic Hall of Fame today.
I'd be delighted to.
Great,
let's go.
Let's go. We were wondering when the Athletic Center opened?
We opened our doors for the Hall of Fame on July of 2001, so we've been open just 5 months now.
Wow, so it is brand new.
It is brand new.
So I heard the Athletic Hall of Fame isn't just filled with many, many awards. What else does it have to offer?
Well, we developed the whole Athletic Hall of Fame under the premise of our past, our present, and our future. So we feature all of our award-winning trophies, obviously, but we have many sports. We also took in the rich heritage of UCLA itself through this timeline wall, as everybody sees when they come into the area.
So we were wondering what kind of sports are featured here.
Well, any sport that an athlete would letter in for a sport. We have currently 22 active sports here within UCLA Athletics, but we also do talk about and have small features on those sports that we used to have. Boxing, for instance, and fencing used to be a sport that people could letter in. In fact, we've had since 1919 over 9,800 athletes in our program.
And here we have the Sears Trophy. Can you tell us a little about it?
Yes, in 1995, when our men's basketball team won the national championships, the National Association of Basketball Coaches voted us Team of the Year. And that's how we got this wonderful Waterford Sears Trophy.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's a showcase of our whole trophy case.
So this uniform right here looks pretty old. Does it have any significance? Why is it here?
It does. And in fact, when people go through the museum here, they look in our football section and one area in particular about Jackie Robinson. You see Jackie Robinson wearing number 28. Yes, wow. This is his uniform from 1940. He's the only person on any of the campuses to letter in 4 sports in one season: basketball, football, baseball, and track and field. In fact, what he's most commonly known for is baseball, but yet that was his weakest sport of all 4. He was most well known on campus at that time for football.
Is it true that UCLA athletes have won 195 Olympic medals, including 98 gold?
Definitely so. And in fact, 8 golds were done just last year in the 2000 Olympics. We had 58 of our current and former athletes in the program for the Olympics in Sydney, Australia. And in fact, since 1932, we've been a major component of the Olympics. Did you know that if we were a nation, UCLA would place 5th in all countries.
Wow, that's a lot of awards.
That's a lot of awards and a lot of accomplishments from our girls and boys at UCLA.
So I know that UCLA has won 86 NCAA trophies. Are they all on display here?
All of them, from 1950 with men's tennis all the way to the present. All 86 are displayed.
So here we are at one of the 3 interactive displays. Can you please show us how we can find information on, say, on Coach Wooden?
Sure, very easy. This is our Hall of Fame inductees, which he was a charter member in 1984. Search by name. We just type in his last name. In a second, there he is. We have 3 areas: his career at UCLA, which is very lengthy, his post-UCLA career, and we also even have video highlights of John Wooden. Did you know that all the times that he played at Pauley Pavilion, he lost only 2 games out of 151?
Wow, that's a pretty good record.
That's a very impressive record.
Yes, it is. What's this wall behind us? Can you tell us a little about this?
Well, this is our Hall of Fame inductees. Each year we have a committee that looks at people that have provided service to the athletics, either as an athlete or a coach. And after 5 years, once they've left the program, they're eligible into the Hall of Fame.
Wow, that was an interesting tour. Thank you so very much for joining us.
I'm glad you made it out here today. It's a great area and we're very proud of it. Come on back anytime.
So now that you know everything the Hall of Fame has to offer, make sure you come out and check it out yourself. Remember, it's located between Ackerman Union and Pauley Pavilion in the J.D. Morgan Center. You can also check them out on the web at www.uclabruins.com. Just click on the Hall of Fame link. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, make sure you get up, get out, and enjoy your UCLA.
That was really interesting. I thought it was going to be a bunch of old footballs.
All those trophies, and I didn't see one you could drink beer at.
This is a dry campus, Scott.
Anyway, if you drank beer from some big trophy, you'd smear your lip gloss.
Enough with the lip gloss. None of this is true, you know that, right?
Oh, I think he protests too much.
Yeah.
Let's take that look at Lula Washington now.
Hi, I'm Lula Washington, Artistic Director of the Lula Washington Dance Theater. When I first came to the university, I felt like I was on a big holiday. I was like, oh, nobody's making me go to class. Oh, they're giving me all this free time to do this, that, and the other. Oh, so I would be sitting outside, laying in the sun, you know, going to my dance classes because those are the classes I really loved and really wanted to be in. But the other classes, I was like, you know, like taking my good time, you know, all the reading, you know, okay, I'll read it tomorrow. And then all of a sudden it was like midterms, and I was like, oh my God, dang, I haven't done anything. I haven't read not one book. When I got that piece of paper that said, look, you on probation because your grades done dropped, you know, it really woke me up. And a lot of times it takes that kind of shaking of a person to really wake them up, because, you know, once you get into a four-year university, you need to stay and finish it. I think a major turning point for me at UCLA was when we decided to start a program, myself and a couple other black girls at UCLA decided to start a black dance association. So in doing that, producing ourselves, we produced some dance programs that brought onto campus some side dancers and choreographers to the campus to enhance what we were already getting at UCLA. And that kind of got us into trouble because we were asked by our professors why we needed to produce ourselves when there were shows produced here by the Department for Students. And the main reason that we told them that we needed to have the Black Dance Association on the campus was so that we could maintain our identity as Black students, as African American students, and pursue the choreographic interests that were of concern to us, which was a little bit different from the rest of the students on the campus. It was very rooted in African American history and traditions. We wanted to create a program that would highlight and feature the works of African American choreographers and African American students. I think the most challenging thing for me as a student was getting on the right page, understanding the process of the university, understanding how the system works, you know. It's really true that there are signposts along the way. You have to decide to read them.
Now, do y'all have self-determination? You know what self-determination is? Come here. What is self-determination?
If you want to do something, you should go out and do it, and if you mess up, try over and over until you get it done right.
Hey, all right. Very good.
So it was an amazing time. It was an amazing learning opportunity, and I really value the experiences, even though some of them were very stressful in the sense that it tested your limits and your abilities as to how you're going to make something happen and made you make things happen, you know. And so just because you had to do it, you had to do it for yourself, you had to learn the process of doing it. And then learning that process actually has helped us now with where we are today, with our school, with our dance company, with every part of who I am today. All of that actually started back with my experiences at UCLA.
That was great how she did her own productions as an undergraduate and learned the skills she needed to form her own dance company.
There's a lesson. You could spend your undergraduate years lying in the sun, or you could get the rest of your life started.
I'm going to remind you of that next time I see you napping in the sculpture garden.
Yeah, you do that.
Okay.
That's good. You know, they just sit here and they make this stuff up. Before they start in with this lip gloss bit again, let's join Robert Rosen for a second look at Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Hello, I'm Bob Rosen, Dean of the UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. I'd like to welcome you to Second Look at the Movies. You know, there are those movies that you saw in the past that are fixed in your memory and they keep coming back to you, and then there are those movies that you wish you had seen but never got around to. Well, now you have a second chance. The movie we're going to take a look at tonight is Picnic at Hanging Rock. Directed by Peter Weir in 1975, it was a seminal film in the Australian New Wave, a moment when Australian directors were catapulted into international recognition for their films, and Picnic at Hanging Rock was one of the great ones. There's no better place to talk about movies than around a table. And there's no better table to be at in Westwood than here at La Bruschetta. On Westwood Boulevard, a stone's throw from the campus, the chef has prepared for us a really wonderful Northern Italian dinner this evening. And what better person to talk with about the movies, particularly movies from Australia, than Executive Vice Chancellor Rory Hume, who not only runs the entire academic program and oversees it at UCLA, but he's from Australia and in his youth was an aspiring movie actor, actually with some experience on screen. Picnic at Hanging Rock is a film of really enduring importance. The setting is the prim and proper school for young ladies set back in 1900 at the edge of the outback. The story is an outing, a picnic where the girls and their chaperones go out to Hanging Rock, a well-known site in the outback landscape. But despite the warnings and their dire warnings from the chaperones, 3 of the girls and the chaperone wander off submitting to the lure of the landscape, and two of them, and the chaperone as well, never come back. They're lost forever. The center of the story are the women and their uptight guardians who are grappling with the tumultuous stirrings of erotic fantasy that in some way is tied to their movement into the outback. But the center of their lives is in fact the outback itself. The outback is not a passive setting, backdrop for the action, but it's part of the action itself, carrying with it a whole array of meanings. There's the meaning of the mystical and even spiritual nature of that landscape. There's the foreboding and frightening nature of that landscape, where there is that sense that you can go in and be lost forever. And finally, it's the repository of all of the subconscious, all of that tumultuous longing for an erotic fantasizing that's repressed beneath a thin veneer of civility and gentility. Rory, looking at the outback in the national identity in Australia, it seems to carry such a baggage of meanings and identity. Why is that so?
Bob, I think it's important to recognize that there are two cultures at play in Picnic at Hanging Rock. And one is the European Australian culture, and we see the young Europeans, these beautiful young women, being drawn into what is a hostile, frightening, appealing landscape. The other culture is the Australian Aboriginal one, which is deeply ancient, 30,000 years, 50,000 years of settlement, and a phenomenal reverence and spirituality related to the land. And it's the land, in my view, that is the central character in this movie. The beauty, the power, the appeal, and the terror of what is a hostile landscape.
I think about the American West. The American West was always something to conquer, to wrest civilization from nature, and I get the impression, looking at many of Australian films, of a kind of intractable landscape where ultimately it will never be conquered. You can only make peace with it, but you can never conquer it.
For European Australians, the landscape was something that, if you were lucky, you survived. It wasn't a bounteous place at all. It was a terrifying place. And in Picnic, we see European civilization at its most elegant in the girls' school, faced with the terror and the risk of that landscape and extracting its toll. These young women are seduced into that landscape, and 3 people don't return.
Tell me about Hanging Rock itself as a site. Have you ever seen it?
I was driving through that country one day and came around a corner and saw a signpost saying Hanging Rock, 15 kilometers, and I went across there, and it's just as it is in the movie. I guess if you're focusing on the sexual repression thing, it's certainly a whole cluster of phallic symbols thrusting up into the sky, and Weir makes use of that, I guess. The other element there, which is intensely spiritual and I think important to the concept of aboriginality in that movie, is the distortion of time that is central to the movie. That insofar as there is an explanation for what goes on at Hanging Rock, you hear, while the girls are drifting into the rocks, you hear the searchers 3 or 4 days later. You can hear them. So there's a time shift here. The clocks, the watches stop before they enter. And one of them comes back unscathed after a week. She survived a week, and you can't survive a week in that country. So there's in the book from which the movie was derived, that time shift element was much more apparent. But that also is a very strong Aboriginal theme, that time is not real, and that things in the land are eternal, that people come and go, but the land is eternal, and that our sense of time is not accurate or relevant.
I think it has a haunting presence. Just as the women in the film were haunted by the presence of the outback, I think it's a film that stays in our memory, and you go back to it and think about it again and again, and maybe now is the right time to take a second look. Thank you very much for being here, and let's eat.
The Australian outback may be a foreboding place, but the American West in film isn't always sweetness and light and unlimited possibilities.
I know what you're trying to do.
Oh, yeah?
You really want to argue with the dean and a vice chancellor?
I'm just saying, maybe they should take a second look at The Searchers.
You will do anything to get invited to one of those dinners.
Good food, intelligent conversation, no slander about lip gloss. It's good stuff.
You couldn't leave us.
No.
Yeah, who would you rather share a dressing room with?
Bags of clothes everywhere, hair dryers blasting. It's like LAX with curling irons.
And he loves it.
At least you're not getting dragged through those dark tunnels like Alex. See?
That's right. When we last saw our campus explorers, they promised to go back into the tunnels and find that toilet graveyard.
I think it's a myth, but let's see.
Okay.
Hi. I was just wondering, have you guys ever heard of the toilet graveyard?
Toilet graveyard? Toilet graveyard. I think I heard about it once.
Do you know where the toilet graveyard is? Over there? Over there? Hi. Do you know where the toilet graveyard is? No. No? Do you know where the toilet graveyard is?
No, I don't.
Sorry. Do you know where the toilet graveyard is?
No, I'm sorry.
No?
Hi.
I wanted to know if you know where the toilet graveyard is.
Who told you I know where that is?
You know where that is?
It might.
What do you mean, Mike?
Well, not a lot of people know about this. Back in '94, me and some buddies were doing a little exploring down there. Man, they got busted coming out of Franz. It was ugly. UCPD everywhere.
I want to know, do you think there's any way you can take me down?
No, I don't know it.
I have to see it. I have to see it before I leave you.
Okay, you know what, sweetie? I've been there. I get it. And we'll go.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yep.
You are the greatest.
Okay, don't tell
You are the greatest.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go. All right, let's go.
Yeah, but by who? I mean, I don't mind. Maybe I'll just. Hey, come on. What, you're gonna leave me here? No, you're coming with me. I don't know, there's weird stuff down here.
That is kind of creepy, huh?
What was that?
I don't know.
Oh man, I'm starting to flash back.
What was that?
The thing, I'm sure it was.
What's that?
Let's just go. Val.
But wait, let me.
You know what, Val? Don't go back there.
Hold on. I'm just gonna check it out. Cindy, it was nothing. Cindy? Cindy, come on. That's not funny. Cindy? Cindy! She has the map. How am I gonna get out of here? How sweet. Okay, this is it. This is it. I can feel it. I'm getting closer. I remember something about a brick wall and a bridge. They used to push the toilets off the bridge. Oh, man. It's a toilet! This is it. The toilet graveyard. Whew. So, I found the toilet graveyard. I sure hope Cindy got out okay.
See, Scott, she found the toilet graveyard.
Some broken stuff, mud, good.
Old stuff, dirt, that's pretty much what a graveyard is.
But what happened to Cindy?
Actually, she's right there.
UCLA Next, where we grab unsuspecting students on campus and make them part of our crew, and then we put them to work.
Next week, Robert Rosen will take a second look at Terminator 2.
Get down. And we won't talk about lip gloss next week on UCLA Next.
We will or we won't?
We won't.
Thank you.